A famous young man enters a big party, and all girls try to talk to him. But he ignores them and chooses a girl named Rashri to dance with him. At this time, she wakes up to her mother's voice, and finds that she was dreaming. By the way, Rashri is overweight. But although she loves herself, her mother is afraid that it's a reason for her not getting married. Then, her mother says that there is a groom coming too, whose name is Tito, and asks Rashri to get ready quickly. After that, her mother fights with her husband, who gets annoyed by their loud voice. And he also fights with his mother, who lives with them in the same house. A little later, the groom and his family reach, and the parents get to know each other. On the other hand, Rashri talks to Tito outside. She tries to get to know him better. So, she asks him about his dreams. Tito tells her that he has a CD store, and he wants to open more than one. But she is surprised and feels that he isn't ambitious. Rashri starts talking about herself and says that his life's dream is to be a broadcaster. Then, she shows him videos that she filmed for herself. But Tito makes fun of her dream, and says that a broadcaster should be slim. At this moment, Rashri knows that he also doesn't want to get married, and that his family forced him to come. So, the two thinks of a way to get rid of this. And as a result, Tito decides to tell them that he doesn't like Rashri because she's overweight. After that, he tells her to lose weight if she wants to work or even get married. Because of what happened, Rashri's mother gets annoyed. She tells her husband that their daughter is 30 years old, and if it continues like this, she won't marry. At the same time, Rashri hears this and gets annoyed with her mother. Then we are introduced to a girl named Syra while buying herself new clothes for a party. But while she is trying on the dress, it gets cut off from her. So, she goes out to fight with the shopkeeper. Syra says that they fake sizes because they write XX on the dress, and it is a very small size. But the shopkeeper tries to tell her that it is not his problem, but he fails. Then, her best friend Mira calms her down, and the two of them leave the store. Syra wants to buy all these clothes because her lover Viren invited her to a party to get to know his friends. We then knows that Syra is a fashion designer, but she wants a sponsor for her job. And Viren is a fashion designer too, and he intends to work with her. Mira doubts that he is a liar and doesn't love her. But Syra fights with her, and asks her not to say this, because she loves him and trusts him. In the evening, Syra goes to the party. Viren welcomes her, and introduces her to his friends. But a little later, Syra gets a call from her brother, who tells her that he finds a producer to make a film about her fashion. So, Syra gets very happy and goes to tell Viren. But she is shocked when she sees Viren's friends are bullying her because of her weight. Also, they tell her that Viren doesn't like her, and he's only using her to get into the fashion world. Syra is annoyed and starts crying. Meanwhile, Rashri tells her family that she wants to be a broadcaster, and says that she has an interview on an important channel the next day, and she is very excited. But her mother completely rejects the idea. After much discussion, they reach that if Rashri passes the interview, her mother will agree to travel and work as she wants. But if she fails, she'll marry the first groom to propose to her. This interview is in Delhi, so Rashri is forced to stay with her aunt, because her mother refused to stay alone in a hotel. While Syra is her home, she is surprised that her brother visits her, and keeps watching her designs, because he loves her work. He asks her about the director who will make the film, and she says that he is Viren's friend. Then, she takes all the food that her brother brought, and goes to Viren to have dinner with him. But she is shocked when she finds that he is hiding a girl, and makes sure that he is cheating on her. So, she walks away, and regrets that she didn't believe her friend Mira. On the next day, it's the time of Rashri's interview. She is waiting with the rest of the girls who have an interview, and it's clear that they are all thin. After that, Rashri feels worried, and feels that she will be rejected. Actually, they make her the last one, but the secretary refuses to let her in, and says that they have already accepted another girl. At this moment, Rashri gets mad and tries to convince her of herself, but she fails. Then, Rashri knows they choose the broadcaster on her shape and weight before anything else. She asks her to meet the head of the channel, but the secretary says sorry to her, and tells her that he is in London now. On the other hand, Syra is talking to her brother and Mira to think of a solution to the film. Especially after the problem between Syra and Viren, they become without a director or even a photographer. And Syra becomes hopeless because the producer of the film is waiting for them in London within a few days. But they aren't yet ready. Then, Syra goes to the bathroom and keeps crying. She is looking for tissues but finds the box empty, until she is surprised by a box of tissues that someone throws at her. Meantime, Rashri is sitting in the bathroom next to her, and the two get to know each other and console each other. At this time, Rashri is afraid to go back to her family because she doesn't want to get married. So, Rashri shows her the videos that she produced and filmed by herself. And Syra decides to make her the director of the film that is being shot in London. Rashri feels this is a good chance to meet the head of the channel, who is now in London. But although she doesn't have any experience in fashion photography, she agrees to the offer. At this time, Syra's brother is interviewing a young man named Sherry, and he is responsible for shooting the film for his sister. On that moment, Syra arrives with Rashri, and reassures them that she found the director. They have a director and a photographer now, so they're ready to travel. Then, Rashri calls her family, but she lies and tells them that she passed the interview. Also, she'll travel to London to shoot a TV show. She goes to stay with Syra in her apartment for a few days, until they'll travel. At this time, the two girls get to know each other more, and become friends. On the day of the travel, the three arrive in London, and Syra says that the producer will send them a driver. Then, they see him and know that his name is Zoravar, and he rides them to the hotel. But the two girls stay in one room, because they don't have enough money. Rashri is afraid of the film, because she has never directed anything of this kind. But Syra calms her down, and says that she chose her because she is passionate about anything she does. The next day, the friends meet with the producer, but they are surprised that the producer is Zoravar, their driver, and drives the car by himself, because he doesn't have a driver. Just a quick note, Syra shoots this film to convince any sponsor to open a special place for her to sell her clothes. Zoravar says that he doesn't have enough money to get them famous models, but he reassures them. Then, the three start walking in the city, and they choose shooting locations. On the way, they are looking for any girl who looks cute, and convince her to wear Syra's fashions, to take good photos without spending much money. Surprisingly, his idea succeeds, and in a short time, they finish a large part of the film. Although most of them are still beginners and have no experience, they do a very good job. While they are watching what they have done, Zoravar enters with good news. He says that Kapil is in London, and Kapil is a famous cricket player. Then, he agrees to make a meeting with them, to make Rashri do a press interview with him. And Zoravar tells her that this is the chance of her life. Rashri thanks him and gets very excited. On this day, Rashri is so nervous, but Syra stays beside her and helps her with everything. After that, Kapil is impressed with her performance, and says that this is the best interview she has ever done in his life. Then, they celebrate Rashri's success and be proud of themselves for what they do. After a few hours, they are on their way home, and they notice the owner of the channel, who refused to work Rashri. So, they decide to show her video with Kapil, and Rashri goes to disrupt him. At this time, her friends copy the video to a flash drive, and then quickly run to give it to him. They manage to do that, and the owner of the channel takes the flash drive, and promises them to see it later because he is in a hurry. But as soon as he walks away, Sherry finds that he gave him the wrong video. Then, Rashri feels hopeless and spends days alone while she is sad, and Syra tries to console her. But Rashri says that her mother calls her, and talks to her about the marriage again. On top of that, Rashri is afraid not to achieve her dreams, because her mother forces her to marry. So, Syra decides to take her and go out together to eat. They make fun of people's opinion of overweight girls, and see that society oppresses girls when it sets them to certain standards. Society thinks that if any girl doesn't follow the standards, they don't have the right to marry or work. While they are both frustrated, Syra has an idea and they quickly back to the hotel. After that, Syra gathers the group and tells them her idea, that she wants her clothes not to be for a certain group of people, but anyone can dress from them regardless of his weight or social class. Actually, they're looking for models whose weight is large to tell people that their clothes aren't for a specific person. And Syra is proud of herself because she'll help the girls who are overweight to wear beautiful clothes. On the same day, Syra falls on her leg and goes to the hospital. The doctor reassured them that Syra is fine, but she needs to rest for a few days. And it's clear that Zoravar is very afraid of her and shows that he likes her. At this time, Viren calls Syra to say sorry to her, but she doesn't answer him. So, Zoravar answers Viren and fights with him because of what he did. Syra gets happy, and she starts to like him. One day, the group gathers in the room and watches TV, but Rashri gets a call from her mother. So, she goes into the bathroom to talk to her. And her mother is doubtful of her, because she hasn't appeared on any show yet. Also, she forces her to go back to get married. Rashri is depressed, and Sherry tries to calm her down. And it appears that he likes her, and is ready to do anything for her. Sherry tries to change the subject, and tells her about himself. He says that his life's dream for a long time is to be a photographer, and that his father encouraged him. But he died a while ago, and he is so sad because even if he succeeds now, his father can't see him. But Rashri consoles him, and says she is sure he will be a famous photographer. In a short time, the four finished shooting the film. Although Syra is worried that the sponsors won't like the idea, she is proud of herself, that she does something that benefits all people. Then, Zoravar invites them to dinner at home, and his mother welcomes them. She knows about their project, and is proud of them. In the middle of the day, Rashri gets a call from the owner of the channel. He says that he saw her interview with Kapil, and likes her performance. Also, he agrees to make her the presenter of the sports program that is shown on his channel. Rashri feels overjoyed, but doesn't know how he saw the video, because they gave him the wrong video. She knows that Sherry posted the video on the internet, when he saw her frustrated. And now, she has a crush on him. The next day, everyone returns to their country, and Rashri tells her family that she had a good opportunity to work on a famous channel. Then, she asks her mother to stop being worried about her future, and to stop seeing that her weight could be an obstacle in her life. A few days later, it's Syra's fashion show date, and she chooses Rashri to be the model for her fashion show. At this time, Syra talks about the idea of her fashion show, that it's for all people. And yes, the sponsors really like her idea and approve of it. Thus, the two girls achieve their dream without giving up on society's opinion of them. And they manage to turn their weight problem into something they can be proud of it. Thanks for watching, take care, and see you in the next video.
All this money, money, money coming to me.